Welcome to the Deeper Into Movies podcast. My name is Stephen T. Hanley. I'm the founder and lead curator of Deeper Into Movies. We're a pop-up cinema based in London and New York. Today on the podcast, I'm joined by actor, filmmaker, musician, Jack Kilmer. Jack, you may know from his performances in Lords of Chaos, Palo Alto, and he's narrated the really beautiful documentary biopic Val about his dad, the OG actor Val Kilmer. On the podcast, we spoke about making the documentary, our mutual obsession with Michael Mann and Harmony Korine. He took me through some records he just bought. We spoke about our dad's mutual obsessions with consumer electronics, and we spoke about Crocs. Here's me and Jack Kilmer. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, nice to meet you.
E-meet you, as they say.
Yeah.
What are you doing in New York?
Yeah, so I'm here in Brooklyn doing I don't know if I should be talking about it, but why not? I'm shooting Law and Order.
Sick. What is it? Law and Order SUV? Is it SUV or?
It's not SVU.
SVU, not the vehicle.
It's the return of Elliot Stabler in organized crime.
That sounds fun, man.
Yes, it's very fun.
I remember, didn't James Franco do lots of, what show did he do that he was regular on?
Yeah, well, so the first thing that came into my head when I got this job was Franco, because he was on a soap for ages and he loved his soap, and he had already reached a certain level of fame, and he just wanted to learn and to be on a set, so he went and did this. I forget which soap it was, but it shot in New York, and
it was like it wasn't ER, but it was something. I think it was a hospital drama.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Because I remember Danny Boyle, he wanted to audition for 127 Hours, and he fucked up his first audition. I think he was like, he had to do it last minute, or he was jet lagged or something. And then Danny Boyle was like, this isn't just right. And then he gave him another set of pages and said, let me go again. And he's like, these are whole new pages. There's no way you're going to be able to nail this, dude. Not to be rude, but maybe we should just call it quits. But since he had done the TV show, he just knew how to learn pages super quickly and smash out loads of dialogue in a short space of time and just have it stick in his head. So he came back and just nailed it, but he totally said it was his TV training that totally gave him the skills to take in all those pages so quickly in such a short space of time.
Absolutely, yeah. And all the kind of tried and true movie set, classic like movie set things about this show is like they use those old cameras, and they often set up multiple cameras, so they get all your coverage at once.
Sick. Yeah, so that's why they can move so quickly, that they have all your angles to assemble later. Cool.
Yeah, like I was looking forward to seeing that, because Law and Order, it has such a classic feel to it. Like I don't know what camera they used forever on SVU, but now they've slightly updated it, but they shoot it in a similar way where they're just there's two guys on handheld with like small Alexas, and they get it pretty much in 2-3 takes, all the coverage, and then they're moving on so fast. Like,
That's so
um,
cool.
and they do that. I mean, it's the same with the writers' room, where I've heard like crazy stories that it's like hundreds of people, and they have this formula that just really works, and they don't know where it's gonna go. And so you get like, I've been getting rewrites like every day, which just keeps it so interesting. Like
Isn't
to
it
just read them.
on
Yeah.
isn't it on Spanish soaps where if the audience don't like you, they'll kill you instantly just to satisfy the fans?
Yeah. I thought I was, I was thinking about that, and I was very grateful to do one episode, and but there was a big question mark at the end of my episode, so I was like, wonder what they're gonna do. They actually ended up bringing me back for another episode, but I won't disclose what happens. But they find creative ways to take care of your plot line
Cool.
very fast. Yeah. Yeah. um I'm just having a ball on this shoot. So I've done TV before, but this is the biggest role I've done on a TV show, so it's very exciting for me.
So how did we get on your radar?
Yeah. So I just started following you guys on Instagram, and the posts were just really quality, and I'm always interested in the merch. It seemed like there was a scene that I would like to be a part of going on. And then I discovered the pod, and yeah, it's cool. It's rare when you find something that is putting out what you want to see.
Great. I'm glad it's not just me who likes it.
Yeah, but I didn't do that much research on you guys. I'm not sure quite what you guys are up to. I just know that I like it, and I would like to know more about it.
Oh, cool. So we're
Yeah.
mostly, well, we started off as a pop-up cinema based in London. Just I started screening movies in a dive bar in East London, which is like hipster Brooklyn of London. And then we just organically expanded kind of quickly to just doing more screenings in more venues, then moving to art house cinemas, and then moving to like cultural institutions like British Film Institute. And then, yeah, everything just grew from there. Then I was like, I wanted to do a podcast. Like, I imagined like Mark Maron's podcast, but just for straight movie geek talk for an hour.
Nice. Yeah.
And then with the merch and the secondhand store and stuff, it was just, I kept on just buying cool shit that I liked and people liked it as well. And I was like, well, maybe we can have like a little mini curated store of just weird film memorabilia and VHS tapes and things like that I enjoy, and hopefully other people will as well. Just like a nice curated secondhand store.
Oh, that's super cool. Yeah. So I'm glad I was kind of on the money then. It's like, I'm glad it's just something that, is driven by love for movies, and just nerding out about films. I'm glad to hear that. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
that's
we
exactly
had
it.
something similar. We've had there's been a few things like that in LA. Like, I mean, there's obviously all the big guys like I forget who runs it, but they put on movies at the Egyptian, the Arrow, and like they partner with Tarantino and all of he's buying up all those theaters now. And they'll play, like they'll do like a big Cassavetes week, or there's a scene like that in LA, but it's much more grandfathered in
Yeah.
at this point. And there used to be the silent movie theater, which was like, I saw the very first art house movie I ever saw was Red Desert at the silent movie theater.
Oh, that's
In LA.
the brain dead space now, right? Was that the one that became
Yeah,
Cine Family and then?
yes, it was Cine Family, and now it's something else. I don't even know
Yeah,
what.
now it's the Brain Dead. You know, the kind of similar to Supreme.
Okay, yeah.
Those guys have bought the cinema, but their programming is insane. Their
Okay,
program
so
is
they're doing.
really
Okay,
impressive.
cool. I'm glad
But
I'm glad they're doing something at that space. It's such a great space. But yeah, I like. There's been like maybe that's why I was gravitated towards you guys because there hasn't been a scene like it's the same with the music scene in LA. There hasn't been a real independent scene in LA for a long time. You
is
know,
there even spaces left to do like cool DIY shit in LA, or is it all just too expensive?
I don't know. I think people have been inside long enough now that there's some stuff. I can feel some stuff coming around the corner, which is exciting. And I've been doing stuff like trying to just like screen movies at my house and invite people over just to like because I miss going to the movies. Like, although I watched the last time I did that, I showed Naked, and that's like my favorite movie. I watch it once a year, and and I hadn't seen it in a couple of years, and definitely hadn't seen it since the Me Too movement popped off. And I was amazed how it aged so badly. Um, there's like a whole plot line in that movie that's just so like canceled, but it's still like my favorite.
The creepy landlord, or
Yes, all the creepies. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, all the creepy stuff in it. I mean, he David Lewis is a very creepy character, but like I think like back when it was made, they were just like, oh, this is just like gonna make him more creepy, which is good in like a punk way. You know, I want to get back in the movie theater. I saw Card Counter here in New York on my day off.
what do you? I thought it was great.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. Yeah, it's like all the like Paul Schrader um, darkness that you want. It's kind of like I see it as like the same character from Taxi Driver to like First Reform, but
Yeah,
he's
Light
just
Sleeper, all
yeah,
those just I'm it's so funny. My friend who works with me, he's just moved into a new apartment and he was like, man, I wanted a really barren studio space, just like all Paul
yeah,
Schrader's Lonely Men. And I
dude.
was like, what, just you and your journal and just like free books and like a boombox? He's like, exactly. Just
Oh yeah,
minimal, lonely dude, just in a space.
there's something about yeah for being a guy and watching those movies. There's something that you really connect with about just like moving to a new space and yeah, just having that barren, that minimalist space where your thoughts just like echo around. um, and the wrapping of
Oh, the
the
furniture?
furniture is so
What the
intense.
fuck? Yeah.
Like, do you remember when he wraps the what's his name's character? It was the first time where he wrapped someone else's room. It was the God, who's the actor who?
Oh, what, William Defoe?
Yeah, he wraps William Defoe's house, and you're like, oh shit! Like, it's like you walk in that really lovely house that he lives in, and like Oscar Isaac just wrapped it. You're like, oh god,
Yeah, it's such a chilling image, isn't it?
yeah.
And just moving from motel to motel, but every time just completely locking it down with the white material and binding and stuff. It's just crazy.
It's sort of like it's really like existential to watch the Paul Schrader stuff now because he's boring like long shots that are in these that in these boxes and you sort of feel like you are reading like meditations or something when
Yeah,
you're
all the journal entries
like,
are so intense. But he
yeah.
never grew up watching movies as a kid.
Oh wow.
Him and Cronenberg both never watched movies as a kid growing up, so they didn't have that Jaws, E.T., Goonies
Yeah.
moments of cinema. So
Yeah.
he's coming at it from a real kind of cold, hardened, existential viewpoint and approach, which is why there's just I think that just informs his kind of nihilistic approach to filmmaking, that he never had those beautiful Hollywood moments, or when you're a kid watching something super magical and exciting.
Yeah, like imagine if you just got into movies like in your late 20s or something, you'd have a completely different
Yeah,
energy. It would seem like a very adult, like crazy thing. Yeah.
yeah. It's
Yeah.
kind of like when you meet. I remember meeting someone at university who just didn't listen to music, and I was like, "That's terrifying." He's like, "I don't like it."
Whoa, yeah.
There's something deep going on there. I didn't want to pry. I was like, okay, that's fine, but how strange and sad.
Yeah.
Well, no, David Bowie's son says he doesn't listen to music, but I don't know if that's just a line that he addresses to the press, like, my dad's a genius and I don't want to have to get grilled to my music taste and stuff. Maybe he just listens to pop bangers or something in his private life and doesn't have that, that isn't into punk or avant-garde music or
Yeah, could be just like a boundary that he has with his dad now. Imagine like anytime you hear a rock and roll song, you just think of your dad. And I bet he does love music really, but he just like tries to avoid the rock and roll, the cliche stuff.
yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, I guess grieving, too.
Yeah, I'm sure it's just like being the son of any famous musician and stuff that you're just gonna get grilled 24/7 about, or maybe it will just segue into, So do you remember when your dad was recording the Low album or something, and it'll probably just maybe just a high boundary you can put up just to shut that shit down.
Yeah. I had hung out with this friend of mine recently. I'm not going to say who, but her dad is a really, really famous rock star who passed away recently. And she, everyone was staying at her house, and she had all these artists coming through, and it was a very sort of artsy vibe. But she said no guitars, and everyone was like, "Well, isn't this like an artist compound?" And she's like, "If I hear a guitar, I'm gonna be set off."
Wow.
And yeah, and we were like, well, "That's crazy! Like this is be crazy just to bring a bunch of synths then and just like go,
You didn't say anything
get
about IDM. Yeah, let's just
yeah
make some let's
yeah
just make some programming.
yeah just like rock out on synths."
What did you grow up watching as a teenager?
I mean, I'd like to say that I didn't really get into art house stuff until like my or early 20s. But my parents are both actors, and they love drama and they love movies, and they love like classic movies. My mom loves old, like Now Voyager and all the Bogart stuff, but she also grew up in England in the 80s. So she like knew Danny Boyle and all the like Guy Ritchie and like what's his name? Gary Oldman and all those guys. Like
Cool.
she grew up with all those guys. So she has a real British new wave background. And my dad just loves like classic like John Hughes stuff, and like he loves comedies too, like Judd Apatow, and like kind of he raised me watching all those comedies, and big like Disney movies. And then my mom grew up, so on the dole in the 80s in England, and she would show me like I remember two movies that really messed me up as a kid were like this movie called Kess,
Oh my god, yeah.
where it's about this boy who's, this poor kid, and he just makes this best friend with this falcon that he finds. And his brother like bullies him, like kills the bird in the
Yeah.
end.
Let me
And
just destroy
it
the only thing you love.
it ripped my heart out of my chest and was like, and then my mom was like, okay, you can go to bed now. And I was just like, but so she always showed me stuff that was really like dramatic and intense as a young age. And another one that really had a big impression on me was this movie Shine. Have you seen that?
The Jeffrey Wright movie?
About the piano player.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that movie was another one that was really big when I was a kid. And um, yeah, another one I was obsessed with growing up was this movie called My Side of the Mountain. And I
I
don't know
haven't
if
seen that.
anyone's seen this
No.
movie. It's so good though. It's about
Looking it up.
it's this kid, and he runs away from home, and then he learns how to live off of the land at like age 12 or something, and he does a year alone in the wilderness. And this was my favorite movie as a kid. I watched it. I wore out the VHS or whatever, and he sort of like after like 6 months, he like starts losing his mind and has all these visions, and like, he's just like, um, and again he has this like eagle that he like a falcon that becomes his like best mate. And my parents were always very perverse, where they would like Watership Down was like my Star Wars or something. Like they wouldn't, instead of showing me the like kid stuff, they would give me like Watership Down. And I remember watching the rabbits and being like, this is like totally
Way too
crazy.
heavy.
Like,
That's still a heavy movie. That
dude,
big
yeah.
fight in the Warren with like the the fucked up gnarly rabbit that
Yeah.
gets ate by the the really sweet rabbit, and then even the Paul Simon Bright Eyes song, even that the real surreal analog animation and stuff is
Yeah,
really kind of creepy and haunting.
totally. And like, and my like favorite Christmas movie was also very weird. Like, what's the one where the boy is? It's like I'm walking in the air, and the boy's like
Oh,
floating
the
with the
snowman?
snowman.
Yeah, where he just fucking melts.
Dude, yeah, like
Yeah.
I would watch that all the time, and he would be like that music where he's like I'm walking in the air, that tripped me out as a kid, blew
Yeah,
my
that's a
mind.
really haunting song.
Yeah. and,
And then he was like
um,
a weird child protege singer
yeah, that
as
movie's
well.
crazy. Yeah, heavy movie. But that Wizard of Oz was really big for me. Um, but that's early, and then God, I know I'm just going rambling now, but then later, when I got the first movies that like my sister, I have an older sister who showed me all the like punk and like indie music and stuff. Like she like showed me the Velvet Underground and stuff.
Yeah, I had a cool older brother who gave me the exact same path.
Dude, yeah, so it's so important. So she was like, she would be watching weird stuff like Gus Van Sant stuff and Larry Clark, and then I got into that stuff, and I was getting into skateboarding and all that stuff. And so like all of that, Larry Clark, and of course Gummo, Behind Your Head, kind of changed a lot of people's like around me when that movie, and when people started watching that, like changed like everyone's aesthetic like overnight. That
See,
movie.
I was saying to someone the other day that because we Gummo was the first movie. Maybe well, Natural Born Killers had it as well, but Gummo was the first movie that had like really fucked up degraded VHS footage in it, Polaroids, like 8
Yeah.
millimeter and stuff, like the weird voiceover and almost found footage. That and obviously that really bled into like art and fashion and music videos and stuff. Then Trash Humpers totally pioneered the whole the VHS renaissance and all the there's like the apps on the phones now for the VHS replication and like the tracking going wavy and like the color bars and stuff. And then Spring Breakers completely pioneered that whole neon drenched trap look that's in every neo noir and every like trap music video and stuff now.
Oh yeah.
He's always
Total.
been like
Yeah.
about 5 years way ahead of culture and aesthetics.
Yeah, and I love it too because it's not like I didn't even get into it. Like changed like people's aesthetic and like you said, like fashion and stuff like that. But I have a cool little connection to the Trash Humpers thing, which is that there's this movie documentary about my dad that just came out, and the director of that, he's an editor, and he actually was the one who Harmony hired to do all the VHS stuff on Trash Humpers, because he randomly had this like specialized. He used to work in like VHS or something in the 90s, and he's like, oh yeah, I actually could find all this equipment. And so he did that. And one of the reasons why I worked on my dad's documentary was we had all this archive footage of VHS tapes. So he was really good at preserving taking it on, making it digital and stuff like that. But yeah, Trash Humpers was where he like learned how to do all that stuff, and like just watching him, now he has like a career off of this. He's managed to like get a lot of work from that, and I don't even know if that many people saw Trash Humpers.
Trash Humpers is huge to me.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah. I fucking love that movie. I remember. Okay, super weird question for you. The editor, what's his name? Something Scott?
Leo Scott. Yeah.
Leo Scott. When I interviewed Harmony Korine, he said the editor of Trash Humpers was like blind in one eye, could barely see the screen. And obviously I'm thinking, how the fuck can an editor be blind? So I was just wondering, is your editor half blind? Or is this one?
No, it's not. It's not true. He may have had someone else work. That may be true. He may have had other people working on it, because I know there was other editors working on that. And I think what Harmony was doing back then was like, he knew that he needed a lot of editing, because Trash Humpers was such a crazy movie that like he knew he needed a lot of editors. So he may have had a blind editor.
He's the king of the crazy story. And sometimes it's true and sometimes it's not.
But also he could have just been saying, I could see him just sort of, maybe he was thinking of writing. He's like, oh, that's a cool idea. Like blind editor, maybe.
Because I remember I had this other crazy thing where when I met him like 3 times. It's really weird. And the first time I met him, he was out shopping for trainers in London with David Blaine.
Oh, word. Yeah. I saw photos from that.
Yes.
Did you post photos from that?
Yeah, that was it.
Oh, I loved those. I loved those photos. I sent them to like my friends being like, this is what a cool moment to run into these two.
Because this was like pre-internet, obviously now if you were out and you may be tagged, you're in a certain bar or whatever, you can maybe work out if someone's in town if you see them posting on socials. But this was just like, it took me like, I was frozen for like a minute. Like, one, why the fuck is David Blaine trying on all these trainers? He had like 15 boxes of trainers around him. And then I saw Corinne was with him and I was like, I just don't get why they're here. And then I snapped out of it and I was like, fuck it, I'm going in. And I was like, hey, Harmony, huge fan. And then he said to me, I'm working on this. I said, what are you working on next? And he said, I'm working on this movie and it's nuns jumping out of planes. and their
Yeah.
hope is going to bring them to the ground. And I'm also working on a Polaroid camera that I want to turn into a film camera. And I came back to film school the next week and was like, I met Harmony Green and this is crazy. And he's working on this film about nuns jumping out of buildings. And everyone in film school was so cynical and like, oh, he's just fucking with you, dude. You probably came in there with all your fanboy energy and he just probably fed you some
Yeah.
craziness. And then I was like, well, I kind of felt sincerity from him. And they're like, you would, because you're so fucking up his ass and you're such a super fan, you probably would have believed it. And then he went silent for like 10 years and then he came back with Mr. Lonely. And 40 minutes into the film, I see these nuns and I'm like,
exactly.
And I was like, oh my God. And then I saw him afterwards and I was like, hey man, you didn't lie to me. And he was like, no way, dude. And I walked away and I realized he has no idea what the fuck I'm talking about.
Dude, that's such a great moment. And I love that story. And yeah, it's true. Like he did bring the nuns have been, I think, brought back in a few different things he's done. And like I was just thinking about, like, there was some old interviews with him on crutches. And then there's crutches a little bit in Gummo, I think. And then he brought it back in some of his short, definitely in Trash Humpers. He's been trying to push the crutches for so long. And like, I think he hasn't really like realized this crutch thing that he's doing, but I think he will one day.
The crutches is when I think he broke his, do you remember that crazy story that he was filming? He was saying that he wanted to take the slapstick vaudeville thing to another level. Where he just gets knocked the fuck out and he used to go around provoking fights with people and like people in like bouncers in clubs and stuff just to get knocked out. But I think he fell in his ankle. So he was on crutches for ages. So maybe but no one's seen the footage of the fights. But I think from what I've heard, when people have pressed him on it now, I think he was just doing a lot of drugs and a lot of self-destruction and at the peak of his, indie boy fame.
Yeah.
In like, because he had like the indie world and the art world and all the, everyone was wanting a piece of him for a while. So I think he just kind of almost self-imploded.
Yeah. But I love that post you made, because it was almost like you had journaled it all those years before social media, because it was such a crazy moment to like run into.
My girlfriend had a disposable camera and I was like, it was just all it was a crazy day. Cause I remember I was doing a media course in college before I went to film school, passed everything. And my mom really sweetly gave me like a grip of money and was like, you did great this year. Go buy yourself a bunch of CDs or DVDs, whatever you want to do. But please buy some new trainers because these Converse, these grunge beat up Converse are just embarrassing right now. So please get yourself new trainers. That's the one. This is the one part of the deal. And I don't know what was with me. I was going from like trainer shop to trainer shop, not finding anything that was a vibe. And then this was like the 5th trainer shop I was in at that perfect moment. And I was like, what the fuck? And my girlfriend at the time had a disposable camera. And it was really funny because we had a photo and then David Blaine walked into the shot. And I was like, yeah, can we just do one with me and Harmony real quick? I was like, I can't Photoshop you. And this is really important to me. So Blaine was like, okay, bro. And just went away and like tried on 10 more pairs of trainers.
Dude, yeah, he loves to be famous. I have a David Blaine story for you too, but I'm just going to hold on. I'm going to be right back. Please excuse me. Hey.
Cool.
So,
David Blaine.
Yeah. So Blaine, it's kind of crazy story. And I'm thinking of it because I'm in New York And this was one of the very first times I've ever went to New York. I think I was 13. And my dad was shooting something, and he's like, come, bring the kids. And so we came out here, but we were staying at David Blaine's apartment in Midtown. And Blaine we would go out to dinner with him, and then he would like just do his like street magic with like strangers in like downtown and stuff. But the funniest part about this trip was that I was sleeping on the couch because it's a nice apartment, but it wasn't huge, and it's like sleeping on the couch. And in his living room, and also in his living room, was a giant oxygen deprivation pod tank. So he would get into this like pod, like one of the like alien pods, and then like put on this apparatus which would like slowly deprive him of oxygen, and he would like sleep like half the night in there. So I probably got like terrible sleep on this trip because I would wake up and he'd be like like plugged into this like thing. And and then I guess he went and did his big like magic trick, which is just like,
Is this when he went underwater, or like holding his breath underwater? Was it that one?
Yeah. And it's so funny because I remember he tried to do something in England, and everyone was just like throwing stuff at him.
That's when Harmony Korine was there. He was on like,
oh, really?
Yeah, that was so jokes.
Yeah, and the English people are so funny too. They're just like, "What are you doing? Like, stop
so cynical.
suffering."
Just like,
yeah,
whatever you're doing, fuck you. We're not here for it.
Yeah, we're not gonna reward you for suffering up there on your. I think he was like balancing.
No, we're just gonna throw rocks at you.
Yeah.
So yeah. I watched Val today. Beautiful documentary. Really hit me in the emotions.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, but there's something so beautiful and poetic about you narrating, since your dad lost his voice, of you taking over and doing narration, speaking as him. Tell me, how did it come about? He's been filming himself since the dawn of the video camera.
Yeah, so he had all this footage since the 70s, and that he mostly filmed, and a lot of home movies that his brothers all made where they would edit in camera, and to really just get this portrait of him that's really unique and like intimate. And but my dad Leo and Harmony actually were supporting my dad in some of his stuff that he was doing 5 or 10 years ago. Like, he was doing a one-man show, and he wanted to write things and do more interesting things. Like, him and Harmony did a short film together, and so my dad would hire Leo to edit some of his projects and just be like the in-house film maker. Like, nowadays people have like teams, like social media teams.
Yeah.
Where they like film you, and so it's sort of like that. And over the last 10 years, a lot has happened in my dad's life, and he, some of it tragic and some creative projects, and there's a lot of unfinished creative projects and it's a lot of stuff. My dad is a really active guy, and all of this stuff just sort of was sitting on the table. Like, what do we do with all this footage? And Leo, being an editor that he is, he just started piecing it together and sort of like drawing like lines from the old footage from when my dad was a kid and through the height of his fame to like the stuff he was doing now. And it just started becoming this big collage of like almost a movie. And then And then there was like a 3-year period where no one wanted the movie, and it nearly failed. I mean, nearly just like, yeah, nearly didn't get made. And the last 3 years have been really hard work that's really paid off with finding this like great distribution with Amazon and A24, who are just bringing it to an audience. And but yeah, I mean, it's been like, I was in the movie throughout my life, and then at a certain point I was like, well, I just work on this movie now, and I became sort of like a producer on it. And yeah, and so it really feels like from the heart. And it was one of the, it's like such a rare opportunity to be able to do something like this, so we had to do it. And yeah, and people are responding to it really well, because my dad gets super vulnerable in it. So
Yeah, it's a beautiful tribute, man.
yeah.
It's really nice. It's so great seeing, you kind of forget there was an era where people weren't used to being filmed and really get goofy or get shy when the camera's pointed at them. It was funny because is it maybe your grandmother who says, "Can they hear my voice on that?" And then
Yeah,
freaks out.
yeah.
My mom says that anytime when even when I had my podcast equipment set up, she's like, "That's not picking up my voice, is it? I'm not going to be on this, or you're not filming this," and stuff like that.
Yeah, isn't it funny how those videos have such a different quality to them, and like a sort of nostalgic kind of like feeling about it, because back then it was a different, not everyone was filmed all the time. So
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah, it hit me heavy, man. Well, my dad used to be a photographer. Well, he used to always take photos. He was always the OG with the consumer electronics.
oh, nice.
Always had a good camera. Well, he worked in TV and film, but he was always the go-to photographer at the wedding or the birthday party or whatever. He'd always take the photos. So we grew up with just like stacks and stacks of photos. And it was that crazy time when you'd send off your photos to get developed, and they'd come back 1 or 2 weeks later, just through the post magically, and they'd give you like 2 more rolls of film for your next shoot, and it'd be this kind of organic way of shooting. But there was a weird point when my dad just stopped and just like kind of gave up taking photos and stuff. And I've always tried to dig it out of him of what made him stop. I don't know, it was so abrupt, but I don't know. I was fishing for this really deep personal moment or something of, I realized it was worthless or something, but no, I don't know. He just kind of stopped in the early 90s and stuff. But yeah, it just reminded me of the way my dad would just have archives and archives of everyone's in the family's birthday party, christening, wedding, lying around the house in boxes.
Yeah, I think that's something we were looking for in the movie, was why did he, because my dad stopped too, and we were looking for an answer for that, a sort of deep answer, and we didn't really find one. But it was a combination of things, like just like life, and he was also, in those years, he was getting to know iPhones and learning how
Right.
to do that. And so he sort of came back to hit, like, we really encouraged him in the last few shoots of the movie to like go back to that energy that he had in the early 90s, and do that with iPhones and with GoPros and stuff. And it was, for him, it was a really nice coming home of like, oh, I remember how fun this is. And like, I finally let him film me again, because I didn't let him film me for my teens, because you don't want to be wearing braces
Oh,
and like being
yeah,
filmed.
yeah.
Yeah. Like,
Did you ever ask why he was so obsessed with filming and documenting things?
I never asked him why, because thing is with him, you don't really question why he does anything because he's so furiously compelled to be an actor, and
Yeah.
he's really his purpose. He has such a purpose, and he loves attention so much, and like, but not just, but in a way where he just like he
No, it
comes
feels
alive.
pure. It's not like being like when they say like attention seeking. It's just
Yeah,
he just seems so performative and theatrical naturally.
yeah, and he loves it, and he comes alive through those moments. I think the camera was always an audience for him, and he one thing my dad isn't very good at is like, I think my dad benefits a lot from watching himself actually, because he doesn't he's moving so fast, doesn't really have time to like think about how he feels about a lot of things. He just reacts, like he's very in the moment, and he just goes 100%. So I think the camera for him was like I play music, and I like use my voice app all the time on my phone to record demos of things. And for him, that was just a way to do that. And I think when he wasn't working, it was like he was like, I'm going to actually make my own movies, and I don't even need you guys. Because he's like, his whole thing, if he could design a movie set, he would clone himself 100 times, and he would be the camera guy, and he would be the director,
Yeah.
and he would be all the other actors. So he like that was his way of doing that. He's just like, why do I have to deal with all these people? I can just like play both parts, turn the camera around, film myself, and like and just get my vision across, because a guy has something to say, and he wants to be doing stuff all the time. But even saying that, he was like, he never really learned like how to use the camera, any of the cameras, because he's always had the newest camera. So he's like, but he never really takes the time to learn them. He comes at it very natural. Like he uses almost always the
Yeah.
auto setting,
Yeah.
autofocus and
Autofocus
stuff.
and
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's my go-to. Yeah.
Hell yeah. Yeah. Which I love now. I went and tried to use a film camera, and it was fun to learn how to do it. But now I just have a super cheap digital camera, and I set that thing to auto, and it's just like fun. Like just
Yeah.
go. Like,
No,
yeah.
we're gonna do it. We're gonna try and do our own TV show of sorts. And I was thinking about shooting it, and I was like, I want it to look like Collateral, all those early
Dude, yes.
2000s. That weird thing where it's like where it's not like analog and it's not like sharp digital. It's this weird fucking middle stage where it looks almost like
Dude.
bad TV.
We could actually do a whole podcast on Collateral, because I was talking to my friend about this, who's a huge Michael Mann head.
Yeah.
And I watched Collateral for the first time recently, and I was like immediately texted all my friends being like, you guys, this movie is really next level. Like,
Yeah.
because the way they shot it, it's so balls out, and like let's not make this try to look like film.
No, just lean into this weird
Lean into
middle
the
zone
digital,
of
dude.
yeah,
Yeah.
and just fucking own it.
Oh yeah, and it was the first, because I think a lot of movies from that time are like, let's put like a bad filter on it and make it look like film or something.
Yeah.
It's like lo-fi digital core, that movie. Like the shots of Tom Cruise when it goes to that weird like POV or like CCTV stuff.
Yeah.
When he's on the escalator, dude, that is so crazy.
I keep on sending my team on the group chat. There's these photos of them shooting Collateral in the club, and they've got these really weird chunky cameras. And I was like, us next year, season 1.
Yeah, dude.
It was just like
Hell
Tom
yeah.
Cruise with the white hair and shit, and just. But it's the same with Miami Vice. It's such a vibe. The Michael Mann's film with Jamie Foxx and Colin Farrell. It's just incredible.
I
Even the
gotta
fact
watch
that,
that one. Yeah.
dude, do it, but listen out. The dialogue is, well, I know Harmony Korine's a big fan. He says he can watch it with the sound turned down. But this, and there's another one he did afterwards, Black Hat, crazily shot on digital. In Miami Vice specifically, it starts off in the middle of a scene, so you're totally spun and you're thinking like, wait, did I skip a chapter on like my Blu-ray? Have I gone to like chapter 2? Because this is just, I have no idea what's going on. And also the dialogue is so quiet, deliberately sunk down, but the gunshots are so loud. It's like it's been mixed by a maniac.
Yeah.
But there's these really weird things. It's like, okay, we're gonna go over here. I'm like, what the fuck are they saying? And then it's like, brrr. It's like, oh, I can hear the gun though. So I don't know what he's on, but it's such a wild choice that I'm here for all of it.
Yeah, you can almost see, you can, in a lot of Michael Mann movies, you can see that they're movies and they're like, you know, props and like stuff weird, because he just goes so hard with whatever the technology is. Like, but I watched Thief for the first time recently,
Dude.
which I love. I think that's gonna
Maybe
be
the
one
best
of the best
soundtrack ever made. I'm obsessed.
Might be
with that
one of the
soundtrack.
greatest movies of all time. Yeah, like
that scene with James Caan in the diner.
Yeah,
where that monologue is fucking insane. Where he's talking about his prison experience.
So sick, and the photo with Willie Nelson on it, and then like, it's just like you can see where he's been trying to kind of do that movie over and over again since Thief, where like
a man with a certain set of skills who's great at what he's doing, and and the crime life and stuff. It's such a great
even
mix.
like the photo in Thief is like Jamie Foxx has that photo.
Oh shit.
In Collateral, where he keeps going like, this is my dream, and he's like holding this photo, and like, and then and I love how all the cops just have like slicked back hair and leather jackets. Like, it's some of the hardest looks of all time in Collateral. Like, where like, what's his name who's the Hulk now?
Eric Bana? No. Oh yeah. Oh shit, Mark Ruffalo.
Yeah, Ruffalo just has the hardest look of like chain and a beard.
Yeah.
And like a leather jacket, slicked hair.
I really like, have you seen Manhunter?
You know what? That is like a cursed movie for me where I cannot watch it.
Why? What's wrong with you? What's wrong with the film?
I tried to even watch it the other night with my friend, and we were both like, we're not ready for it. We can't do it. I don't know what it is, but we can't like, I'm like saving it or something. I don't know.
Does it creep you out, or is something grating on you, or?
Not even. That's the weird thing is I really want to see it. I just can't like, I can't do it. I don't know.
Oh, I'm excited for when you do it. It's one of his best.
Oh, well, yeah. But yeah, back to the gunshot thing is like, we saw a really good cut of Heat at the Academy Theater.
Yeah.
And it was like one of, sometimes they restore them and they're like worse. You're like, why'd they even do that? But
yeah, there is a thing now with the airbrushing of the new color they put over it. Is even Criterion is getting real beef for that of their
really?
When the color correction and just adding a different tone to it, and it's like, this wasn't fucking shot like this. Why are you doing it? But
yeah, exactly.
I'm glad to hear Heat is being saved. Yeah,
Heat, they really killed it, and the sound at the Academy Theater was really good, and the gunshots were all real and live.
Yeah, live rounds.
Blanks. So you really feel it. And and he's done, I think he's been trying to do that, like even since Thief, with like anytime there's a gunshot, it's like super loud and crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. Of course, your dad's got the fucking iconic scene where they come out of the bank.
Yeah, it's sick too, because I think they gave him like carte blanche to shoot in LA because of Miami Vice. I like he was one of like three guys at the time who could actually shut down downtown LA and get a helicopter and shoot
So
live blanks
sick.
in downtown LA. It was like, because they were like, "Oh, you did Miami Vice, like you're like, you know,
You made us cool. Yeah.
you're allowed to like, you can handle like a big set like this or something."
Right.
And yeah, that was like something about working with like Shane Black that was cool, is that he, because of like Lethal Weapon and stuff,
Yeah.
he had like weird connections to like explosives and stuff that he could just be like, he could be like, "Oh yeah, I got like, we're allowed to just, we're gonna blow it up today." And be like,
Of course, you're in
"Sick,
Nice
yeah,
Guys.
yeah."
Yeah. That's so
That
cool.
was one of the few things about that movie that I enjoyed, was just the like, the scale was huge. Like, um, they had way too much stuff that they even needed. They would just like, you know, yeah,
Just like old school Hollywood budget.
yeah, like huge budget. Yeah.
One of the things that I really got a kick out of watching your documentary was when around the time of Gamo, around the time of college to before uni, every weekend me and my pals would just buy lots of weed and watch movies. And Top Secret was one of our go-to stoner movies.
No way.
That was just so it'd be like, should we watch Gamo? Should we watch this Wu-Tang documentary again, or Top Secret? And Top Secret is just so fucking entertaining. I don't know if people are aware that your dad's comic timing and physical comedy delivery is just second to none. He's absolute comedy master.
Oh, well,
But
thanks for recognizing that, because that's his, one of his biggest missions in life, is to just let, because he really comes from a absurdist kind of comedy thing vibe.
the lines he's
Like even,
delivering in Top
yeah.
Secret and selling is just it. Yeah, it's just fucking amazing.
And yeah, and he's really, my dad's really sensitive, and he's like, he got all these really serious roles, and I think it really like, he's like, "I just want to do comedies. This is like," and he's
Yeah,
one of the funniest people I've ever met. Like he's, you know, he really lives for the comedy.
this the scene in Kiss Kiss Bang Bang where he fires the gun from his crotch.
Yeah,
Fucking incredible. One of those almost fell out of my seat laughing in cinema moments, and then just brought it back. Like, of course, this is the guy who did Top Secret. He just totally sold that.
that movie took place like almost outside of the shooting of that movie. Like the whole, like they had such a good time on that movie that I don't even know if they even captured half of it, because like they were really just like, would hang out every day and
Yeah,
just
it feels
mess
it.
around. Yeah. Yeah.
What do you want to do next? Do you have you do music as well?
Yeah.
What do you enjoy more, music or acting, or is it all one expression, kind of?
I'd say probably the music is more of an instant gratification. But it's also more of like, I'm not in any rush to put anything out with that. And, I'll always be tinkering and doing that. Could expect a release in the next like 2 years or something. But in terms of the acting stuff, I just want to work. And I think I'm in this place now where trying to get back to like what we were talking about, back to my kind of teenage enthusiasm for it. And I've been watching a lot of TV and a lot of comedies, and yeah, a lot of them, going back and watching a lot of the stuff that got me into doing it. And I don't take it as seriously. I'd like to do more you know, like doing this TV show that I'm doing right now. It's
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, it's someone, a friend of mine was telling me he's a music video director. And we had this conversation once when we were really fucked up in high school. And he was like, I just want to get old enough so I'm not concerned about aesthetics so much. And I'm not so stylized. Like I can just focus on story and, you know, make like Phantom Thread or something where you sort of focus on like you get old enough where you're not sort of trying to keep up with the whatever's in style.
Yeah.
And you more just think about story. And that's sort of where I'm at now, where I'm like not too concerned about aesthetics and what's cool. I'm just more like want to do good stories and do camp stuff and and work, you know. And then I really enjoy my downtime. So whatever I get from working, I'll just put it into my own stupid projects, and you know, maybe I'll release one of those one day, you know. But, yeah.
But before I go, tell me what music do you listen to? Who inspires you?
Well, let's I don't know, maybe I got these records. I
Oh,
think
here
this is
we
a good
go.
place to
Amoeba,
start
what's in
because
my
I
bag? Right here.
yeah, let's go over a little what's in my bag
Yeah,
because
yeah, yeah. Let me see.
I've been record shopping a lot more out of boredom, and yeah, okay, so we'll start with a classic, Either or, Elliott Smith.
My favorite of his.
This is a classic record. It's got my favorite song, Ballad of Big Nothing, on it.
I love the back artwork as well on that.
Yeah, look at this.
The like the Xerox almost. Yeah.
Yeah, and I realized that there's actually every song references LA, and I'm away from home right now, so it's really like making me think of home. And then this record, I was excited to find this on vinyl. It's Them, and if you do you
Van
recognize the
Morrison's
singer?
band. Van the Man? Is that?
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Shouts
if
to
we can put
Eugene
it,
for going to see him live. That I
dude,
don't
yeah,
even know if it was ironic or what, but
if we put his politics aside for a second, he was doing his weird Irish thing, but with
yeah.
like a early Rolling Stones vibe. So there's, you know, You Just Can't Win is like a cracking 60s rock and roll song. Yeah, so I've never seen this on vinyl, so that's cool. And then they had a little listening booth
Yeah.
in this record shop, and I found this, and I was drawn to the cover.
Whoa. It's a butt. Just an 80s butt.
It's a
Yeah.
very sweaty 80s bum.
How does it sound?
And so I was like, I've got to hear this. And it's a disco record, and it's made in 1980. There's two cracking like disco, like psychedelic disco songs on that are like LCD sound system drum beat
vibes
that are just like really sick. So pick that up. You know,
that's so good.
there it is.
I saw Elliott Smith before he died at one of his last shows, and he was really fucking high, and it was really it was really messy and bad. No. And he brought his girlfriend out to dance on some songs, and she was just like awkwardly twirling and stuff, and I was like, this is really peculiar. But then he like cut the shit and just played the best version of Between the Bars and just broke everyone's heart and then just left. So he brought it back.
That's so heavy to be like, this is enough fun.
Mm-hmm. This has been such a nice conversation.
Yeah, this is great. Thanks for having me on and making the time for, it's later for you.
No, so I kind of like it. My camera's been getting darker as we've been talking. It's good aesthetics here.
Yeah, I noticed that. Great. Well, lovely to meet you and catch up. Let's do it again.
Yeah, man. Let's stay in
Yeah,
touch.
absolutely.
Cool. Have a good day, buddy.
Cheers.
Take
All right.
care. Bye. Boom. Me and Jack Kilmer. What a beautiful guy. That's it from me. Thanks to my podcast engineer, Ewan Henselwood, Joshua Eustace, aka Telephone Tel Aviv, for my beautiful music, and you guys for listening. Stephen T. Hanley, Deeper Into Movies, signing out.